17-year-old, I was trying to choose a profession and my mother said, you should be a doctor and I don't want to, I might get into it because of the pressure. But if I'm unhappy in my career, then I'm an unhappy individual for life. Why not let your child make that choice or have that, decision? This is what I want to do in my life, and he will work hard at it. My opinion, he will be good at it because that's something he chose. That is something he takes responsibility for. That's something.
Would you ask your child, if you, let's say, you have son, you give birth to a son, would you keep him unnamed? That when he grows up, I'll ask him, what name do you want?
I named him, but he changes his name every day. Believe me. He does. My daughter. And then, if he wants to be called by that name for those 2 days, 3 days, we do it.
Yes,
right? It's something that he might come back to or he might grow up and decide not to. I'm very...
But that is a very peculiar thing, Children calling themselves by different names. I've got a nephew also who does the same thing. He will call himself one day a cycle, one day he will call himself, Dr Claude or something like that. And he's in that work because for that time, even if it's a few hours, he is by that name. That is the
exactly, because they use things that are around them and make their own props and decide there's something or the other every day, and that's what they want to be referred to. And it's not that you're giving them costumes every day. Okay, today you want to be this is your costume. They use things around them to just because that's how they see themselves, what they want to be, and they do it that way. It's fine.
That's their imagination flowering actually, because instead of just being one person, they can be 50 people over a short space of time. And they choose the person. The parents, it's not a fancy dress competition where somebody tells you to be this or that. See, one of the things the issue that you're raising is, there are certain things about education with this modern system that you forget. Much of it is external. Much of it external depends on external. On things that are given to us, on texts that are given to us, on teachers that are given to us, on whole sort of wonderful sort of thing that is shoved on our heads, whether we like it or not, from the text itself. The first time a child reads a textbook, he realizes that there is a different reality. And that there is something which he has to receive. He has to receive. And from that time onwards, if he is not careful, he will be receiving wisdom, how to live his life, what to do, all this for the rest of his life. But that comes with the text, the advent of the text. Yes?
I used to love textbooks when I was a child. I mean, they were beautiful. There was colors in it and pictures and photographs. I still love books. I don't think there was anything wrong. And another thing the lady said about, the parents tell the child, be a doctor. The other side to it is sometimes you hear young people, they've chosen a profession, they've gone into it and they're unhappy and they say we weren't guided when we were young. We weren't given guidance, we weren't told, so we just did what we wanted, now we're not happy. So there are two sides to it.
They take their own responsibility for it. And you as a parent, I wouldn't suggest, or as a parent or a teacher, that you don't guide them or you don't suggest. But what most people in our culture, I feel, do is they force their views on the child. That's what I'm talking about.
I think currently we are talking about two extremes.
Yes.
And extremes are always unwelcome. Like if we move from this extreme to the other extreme, that is also not going to be manageable. So it's actually adopting a manageable path while catering to both styles. Let the children decide for themselves.
See, I don't agree there with you at all. If there is genuine choice among youngsters to do what they want, why is it that we have predominantly today engineers, doctors, and now this crazy ICT guys?
Increasingly commercial world, so the children are filled for the commercial world.
So is there some choice in what you're doing? Can an 18-year-old guy or a girl at the age of 18 at the threshold of life decide how he or she is going to be gainfully, happily employed for the rest of their life? Do you think even an 18-year-old today has got that capacity? Have you got that capacity? You don't. But the system is so remarkable that it pushes, and this is not just Indian society, Pakistani society, America, all of them are then push till they go into this 3 or 4 streams. And then of course you have a huge number of people who are really dissatisfied. You have doctors who don't want to be doctors. You have engineers who don't want to be engineers. I went to the IIT Madras and I spoke to some of the students there. And they said the reason why we came to the IIT, this is a prestigious institution in India, they said the reason why we came was that we had got good grades. So because you got good grades, you go directly to the IIT. You're not interested in being an engineer at all. And you're not interested in doing any of that institution. But your parents, neighborhood, you got this much, 90%, you have to go to IIT. Everybody goes to IIT. And then in the end, what happens? They are profoundly unhappy people. Now you give me an answer. If we had a totally different type of system, where children were literally free to pursue, and we as educators were able to meet that quest and create that space, would we, for example, have had, instead of one singer yesterday singing Sufi songs, would we have had 1,000? Would we have had 2,000 dancers? Would we have 50,000 singers? What do we have today? Today we have singers, dancers, poets who have suppressed themselves and who are MBAs. They just slaughtered a huge part of their personality and they ended up doing something else. Why? Because we've got this. We say this is the system. This is the system to which we have committed ourselves. We think that it is good. It is professional. When you use the word professional means it's okay, it's everything, it's slick, it's smooth. Everybody is going in that direction. All the people who dress well are in that direction. And that's where a successful society is propagating, moving around. So obviously, it must be the right way to go. Yes.
Well, I feel that we all as teachers imitate a lot of how we were taught. Because that was the first exposure to teaching. And then from there on, of course, as one is maturing and things are changing, the world is changing, and times are changing and one is also changing. And so the once we are in a profession like teaching and the opportunities that we get for training and all things start changing. I feel that over the years I have changed as a teacher due to the training that came from me. When I attend a workshop like this and we are talking about a classroom with diversity and all, now the only tip you can probably is that I have a syllabus to cover, an exam to meet at the end of the day. So I would want these children to decide for themselves if they want to learn this or not, or if they want to do this or not and all. But then again, I'm not thinking about or I'm not able to understand how I will meet that end requirement of the system or of the examination system or whatever. So this is probably what starts blocking my imagination, how from here to be there. So that is probably where, again, the pressures of the syllabus and pressures of the requirements, obviously the parental pressure is of the same level, because again there is no understanding of what would that be. I remember the first time I went to learn what the group work was, and I could not understand how children will sit in a group and do this task. But now I enjoy doing that because I have learned to do it. While I feel very excited about a class where children will come and decide and they'll be all discovered together. Still, making links to that is probably which is blocking my image somewhere.
So doesn't that sort of challenge you as a teacher?
Yes, it does. It excites me.
Means you got to find some way, because you are at one stage, maybe in the last 30, 40 years, you are an agent of the system. But you've got to shift over and become an agent of the child. Now what it means to be an agent of the child is that you've got to protect the child. You've got to protect the child from stupid syllabuses. You've got to protect the child from
stupid syllabus is there for us. Yes. And so as teachers probably we are not thinking beyond that, because that is not where we participate in that way. Because there's again going to be the older way.
The famous O.
The famous
O or zero.
So that is what probably sort of confides for everybody, because all teachers are pressurized always to cover the syllabus, and so nobody's thinking outside the syllabus when we're thinking about about your class.
Maybe we'll have a discussion on that.
Come on, somebody from here. Let me keep him quiet.
I was just thinking that there should be a statement no matter the child is at the pre-nursery stage or at the old stage. Fine, but there should be some limitations also, right? We cannot just leave that child without the status whether the child is of pre-nursery. There should be a status because we need to provide a guideline to a child in 6 years. And we were talking in the beginning that is it important to teach history to a class 1 child who is just 6 years old? Yes, because we want to keep that child in touch and we learn with our past. We cannot forget our past because we build our future keeping our past in our mind. For class 1. Nowadays he has exposure of these machines. The grinders and there's refrigerators and so on. So what we did and what is described in our curriculum that previously there's something I think everyone is aware of this harm and this harm. Now when you keep both the things in front of that child, that lesson ultimately becomes very interesting for that child. Okay, previously people used to grind food ground food in that I understand. Now this is machine. So that child can just correlate that, okay, this was one of the means to learn in that by that time. Now he is using this. So it depends how interesting the lessons are. But we have to set some directions for our children, no matter whether that child is belonging to a 6-year-old or is in class 1 level or is of 8. But yes, the curriculum should be there. Then how can you set certain strategies or certain framework? You cannot just leave the child like that for the whole year. He is coming and you can just leave everything on him to whatever he wants to. We need to make that child understand, but in a positive way, that why we are teaching certain things to him.
If the objective of my lesson is to inform or for the child to know that this is the progression in this machine, then I will never probably would want to choose a textbook or just 2 samples of these 2 machines and present and should let the child remember that this is it. I may ask the child to research at his own pace in a different way on how food could be grinded and so on and so on. Because if not at the age of 6, I'm sure by the age of 9 they will all know it.
I think that she's talking about the curriculum, the framework. The technology can be open.
The framework.
Who decides the curriculum?